On Sunday, April 21st, 2026, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation went on national television and said the following words about the deaths and disappearances of American scientists. The FBI is spearheading the effort. We are working with the Department of Energy, the Department of War, and our state and local partners. This is an active investigation. We take it very seriously. The director is Kash Patel. The program was Sunday Morning Futures. The host was Maria Bartiromo. The following morning, a sitting Republican member of the House Oversight Committee went on the same network and named the case that started it. Representative Eric Burleson of Missouri said the investigation began because of a specific officer, a two-star Air Force general who vanished from his home in Albuquerque on February 27, 2026, and has not been seen since. The officer's name is William Neal McCasland. Patel did not name a scientist. Patel did not name a foreign actor. Patel did not name a country. Patel did not name a mechanism. He did not mention McCasland. He did not mention the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson, which McCasland commanded. He did not mention that at least one of the missing scientists ran a classified materials program funded by that laboratory. He did not mention the word Mondaloy. He did not mention the 1980s. He did not mention the documented history of American intelligence agencies feeding real people false information about UFOs for operational reasons. What he said was, "We take it very seriously." What he confirmed was a frame, not a fact, a frame.
This is Unresolved Signals, an AI-powered investigation into the oldest open question in human history. Every document, every country, every question, every release.
This is a special episode. We are breaking from our chronological series for the second time because the record demands it. 2 weeks ago on this show, we told you about 8 scientists. 3 of those cases were solved: a university mass shooter, a trespasser with a history, and a man who lost both parents in a single hour. 5 were not. We ran the base rates. We walked the timeline. We said on the air that we did not think 8 cases was proof of anything. We said the pattern was a question, not an answer. 2 weeks later, the count is 11. And one of the cases we called solved is no longer as clean as we called it. Carl Grillmair, the Caltech astrophysicist shot on his front porch in February, was killed by a man named Freddie Snyder. We said that 2 weeks ago. We still believe that. What the record has since added, from reporting this week in LA Magazine and ABC7 Los Angeles, is that Snyder had been arrested on Grillmair's property 2 months before the killing, armed with a loaded rifle, and the charges had been dropped. That does not change who pulled the trigger. It does raise a question about the months between the first arrest and the final one. We are not walking back the solved designation today. We are telling you out loud that the record moved, and if it moves again, we will move with it. 2 weeks ago, the FBI had said nothing on camera. Last weekend, the director of the FBI sat on Fox News and confirmed the investigation. 2 weeks ago, NASA had said nothing in public. On April 22nd, for the first time on the record, a NASA spokesperson told Gizmodo, quote, "We are coordinating and cooperating with the FBI." And then, quote, "At this time, nothing related to NASA indicates a national security threat." At this time. 2 words that do a lot of work in a small number of syllables. It is the clause that lets a public record be revised tomorrow without contradicting what was said today. That phrase is the tell. And the reason we are making a second special episode is that at this time is showing up in more places than one. The thesis of this episode is this. In the United States in 2026, disclosure has become a political weapon. The promise to release hidden files, UAP files, Kennedy files, pandemic origin files, others, is a routine instrument of American politics. It generates news cycles, it drives search volume, it moves donor money, and at the end of most of those cycles, no new file has actually been released. That is not an accusation against one administration. It is an observation about a playbook. The playbook runs in 4 moves. Move 1, the promise. An administration announces that a set of hidden files is about to be released. Move 2, the slow walk. The deadline arrives, the files do not. A procedural reason is offered. Move 3, confirmation theater. Pressure builds. A senior official goes on camera. The official appears to confirm. The official confirms a frame, that an investigation exists, that coordination is happening, that the matter is being taken seriously. The official does not confirm a fact. Move 4, the reset. The frame shifts. The story becomes about someone else, an adversary, a threat, a reason for the public to look outward instead of inward. Before we walk that loop against the current UAP file, we owe you a base rate. This playbook is not new. In 1973, the director of Central Intelligence ordered the destruction of the files for a program called MKULTRA. The program had run for 20 years. It involved chemical and psychological experiments on American citizens without their consent. 2 years later, the Church Committee, a Senate investigation of the intelligence community, forced the partial reconstruction of the record from surviving financial documents. A journalist named John Marks obtained roughly 20,000 pages through the Freedom of Information Act. The original files are still gone. What the public knows about MKUltra today is what accountants kept by accident. That is the playbook, 1973. In 1992, Congress passed the JFK Records Act, mandating the release of all Kennedy assassination files by October 2017. October 2017 came. The files did not. President Trump signed an order for partial release in 2018. President Biden released more in 2021, 2022, 2023. President Trump, in his second term, issued an order in January 2025 for, quote, full declassification. Batches have followed. As of this recording, redactions remain in place on records the 1992 law required released by October 2017. 34 years of soon. In 1972, a whistleblower named Peter Buxton went to the Associated Press with documents describing the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, a 40-year experiment on Black American men in which the United States Public Health Service withheld treatment to study the disease's natural progression. Buxton had raised internal concerns for 6 years before he went to the press. The study ended that October. The public apology from the president came 25 years later. 40 years of running, 25 more years of silence. In 2021, the United States intelligence community briefed the president on the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. By 2023, 2 agencies, the Department of Energy and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, had assessed with low confidence that the pandemic most likely originated from a laboratory leak in Wuhan, China. 2 years later, the full underlying record had not been released. The country that housed the laboratory had declined to participate in the investigation. The promise of full transparency has been made and remade across 2 administrations. As of this recording, it is still a promise. 5 files: MKUltra, Kennedy, Roswell, Tuskegee, COVID. 5 different administrations, 5 different decades, same loop. Promise, slow walk, confirmation theater, reset. What is new in 2025 and 2026 is not the loop. What is new is the cadence. Now let's walk the loop against the UAP file. Move 1. The promise. On February 2nd, 2026, the President of the United States posted on Truth Social, directing the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of War, and the Secretary of State to prepare, quote, the full UAP release. That post is in the public record. It is the one instance in more than a year of public presidential statements about UAP disclosure that produced a documented administrative action. It produced the April 14th deadline. On April 19th, 2026, at a Turning Point USA rally in Phoenix, Arizona, the president said this, quote, we're going to release it. We're going to release it very, very soon. You're going to be amazed. 2 statements, 2.5 months apart, 1 administrative action, 0 files delivered. Move 2, the slow walk. On March 31st, 2026, Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida sent a letter to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. The letter identified 46 specific UAP videos in Department of War custody and demanded their public release by April 14th, 2026. The deadline came. The videos did not. The Pentagon's explanation was that Luna's letter had been sent to a general intake mail address and had not been forwarded to Secretary Hegseth's office, a mail handling error. The letter itself, which we have, on House letterhead, addressed by name, was, according to the department, delayed in transit inside the building. Luna called this mail courier framing, on the record, on national television. On April 21st, the same morning Kash Patel went on Sunday Morning Futures, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, told Defense Scoop it was coordinating with the White House for expeditious release. Backlog, 2,000 incident reports. Coordinating, expeditious. Neither word sets a deadline. Neither word commits a date. Move 3, confirmation theater. You heard it at the top of this episode. 5 verbs. 0 nouns that name what the verbs apply to. 24 hours later, it was Burleson, not the director of the FBI, who named McCaslin by name. That 24-hour gap is the shape of Move 3. Move 4, the reset. Here is where the playbook starts to look different from the one that ran on MKUltra, or Kennedy, or Roswell. On Fox News, Bartiromo and Patel framed the matter around foreign adversaries. 2 words, no country named, No service named, no case named, just the phrase. It is worth noticing what Kash Patel did not do on Sunday morning. He did not say Russia. He did not say China. He did not say Iran. He did not say North Korea. He said foreign adversaries, plural, interchangeable, unspecified, because in April of 2026, the administration he serves is in a fight with all of them at once. The President of the United States is, at this moment, in an escalating confrontation with Iran. Tensions with Russia are the worst they have been in a decade. The relationship with China has not improved. Allies in Europe and the Gulf have been alienated. There is no shortage of foreign enemies to point at. The administration does not have to pick one. Foreign adversaries is the all-purpose noun that lets the enemy be whoever the news cycle needs this week. That is Move 4, updated for 2026. It is not the Russians specifically. It is pick a villain. There is one more thing we have to say honestly about this week's confirmation theater. The man who said those words on Sunday morning is, at this moment, at the center of his own news cycle. Kash Patel is under public and private pressure on matters unrelated to UAP disclosure. The Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, is out. The Department of Justice, which controls both the Epstein file and half the scientist investigation, is between principals. Behind the frame of active investigation, we do not know who is actually doing the work. We do not know who is reviewing the 46 videos. We do not know who is coordinating with the White House for expeditious release. We do not know, in an administration in this much public disarray, whether anyone is working on the UAP file at all. That is the other thing at this time lets the record do. It lets an office promise work that the office may not currently be staffed to perform. So here's the question this episode wants to sit with. How hard is it, actually, to release the UAP files? We are going to take that question seriously, because it is a fair one. Most disclosure fights in American politics have a real reason the release is hard. The Epstein files have victim privacy, they have pending investigations, they have defamation exposure. There are legitimate legal reasons, not political ones, why the full Epstein file is not public. Reasonable people can disagree about the balance, but the hard part is real. The JFK files have ongoing source and methods concerns for intelligence tradecraft that 60 years later is arguably still operational. MKULTRA was hard because the director of the CIA destroyed the original files. They are physically gone. Tuskegee was hard because exposing it would indict the United States Public Health Service and the doctors who ran it. The hard part there was institutional, not legal, and it was also indefensible. What is the hard part on the UAP file? We are going to walk every honest version of that question we can find. Version 1. The files contain craft recovered from a non-human source, and the government cannot reconcile their existence with 80 years of public denial. If this is the reason, the hard part is embarrassment, not national security, embarrassment. Version 2. The files contain disinformation operations the United States government ran against its own citizens. The Benowitz operation of the 1980s, the MJ-12 document seeding, the deliberate encouragement of UFO belief inside civilian populations for operational cover. If this is the reason, the hard part is institutional. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations does not want to explain the Benowitz case on the floor of the Senate. We already covered Benowitz, Episode 7. It is on the record. The files in question exist. Version 3. The files contain proprietary propulsion or materials research. For example, what Monica Reza was working on. That remains genuinely sensitive because foreign competitors would benefit from the disclosure. If this is the reason, the hard part is real. But then the answer is not more soon. The answer is a redacted release that protects the technical details and shows the rest. Redaction is how the intelligence community releases every other sensitive document. Version 4. The files contain nothing. The UAP program was inflated. The Pentagon has been promising for 18 months to release something it cannot produce because the substance was never there. If this is the reason, the hard part is political. Admitting nothing is there means admitting the promise was theater. Version 5. The files contain records of people who died or disappeared. Personnel records. Investigations opened and closed without public disclosure. If this is the reason, the hard part is the 11. Every one of these versions has a path to partial release. Redaction exists. Executive summaries exist. The Church Committee existed. The 1994 Roswell GAO report existed. The JFK release machinery exists. The United States government knows how to release a politically difficult file. It did it for Watergate. It did it for Iran-Contra. It did it for the 9/11 Commission. It did it for the Senate torture report. What it is doing now is something else. What it is doing now is soon. And that brings us to what else is happening in Washington right now, because the UAP file is not the only file where soon is doing the work. While we were building the research for this episode, 2 weeks ago, February 24th, 2026, NPR broke a story. Not a UAP story, an Epstein story. NPR reported, with documents it had obtained, that the United States Department of Justice had, in fact, actively removed or withheld material from the public Epstein file that referenced allegations of sexual abuse against Donald Trump. The material had existed. It had been removed. The department had not disclosed the removal. The NPR story dropped on February 24th, 2026. 3 weeks earlier, on February 2nd, the president had posted the full UAP release directive. Same administration, same executive branch, same 22 days. On one file, the administration was publicly promising to show the American people everything. On the other file, the administration, without announcing it, was removing material the public had been told was already released. The promise and the erasure were running on the same news cycle, out of the same office. That is not an accusation, that is a sequencing. And it is the reason we cannot do an episode about the UAP loop without also doing an episode about Epstein. We need to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. We will talk about him carefully, because what we are about to do is name a speculative connection that the evidence does not yet support, alongside a documented connection that the evidence does. Those two things need to be kept separate. Here is the documented part. The Department of Justice, in July 2025, said there was no client list. That was a closing of the file. The Department of Justice, in February 2026, was shown by NPR to have removed material from the file before its public release. That was an opening of the file. The promise that the file was closed was not accurate. The record was revised. What Epstein's file proves is that this administration, in this office, with this cycle of promise and release and revision, has already been caught doing it once, on a file that is legally protected and politically radioactive. The move was documented. The coverage has been broad. The department has not issued a rebuttal. Here is the speculative part. A public figure named Eric Weinstein has argued, on his podcast, that the Epstein story and the UAP story will eventually merge. Weinstein is a mathematician, not a journalist. He said, quote, "My guess is that you're going to find out that a lot of these stories, just take New Mexico. New Mexico is going to be the hub that connects atomic weapons, UFOs, and Jeffrey Epstein, and they're all going to merge into one story about power that we don't understand." Steelman. New Mexico is real. Los Alamos is in New Mexico. Sandia is in New Mexico. Kirtland Air Force Base is in New Mexico. The Roswell incident is in New Mexico. Paul Benowitz, the subject of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations disinformation operation we covered in Episode 7, operated in New Mexico. One of the missing scientists at Los Alamos National Laboratory worked in New Mexico. Epstein's documented science philanthropy network included physicists adjacent to weapons research. Epstein visited Los Alamos. Red Team. Epstein's documented science giving ran through 3 primary channels: Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics, the MIT Media Lab, personal gifts to individual physicists, Marvin Minsky, Seth Lloyd, Murray Gell-Mann. None of those channels funded UFO research. None of those channels touched the Air Force Research Laboratory. None of those channels touched the classified research line called Mondaloy. None of those channels touched any of the 11 missing scientists. We checked the full corpus of 121 sources that underpinned our last special. Weinstein is making a claim that the evidence, as it stands today, does not support. What we will say is this: his claim is testable. The reason it cannot currently be tested is that the Department of Justice has been demonstrated, by NPR, to be actively withholding Epstein material. If Weinstein is wrong, the withheld material would clear the record. If he is right, the withheld material would provide the evidence. Either way, the honest position is, the evidence is currently held by the office that would be exposed if the evidence pointed in either direction. That is not an endorsement. It is a description of why we cannot close the claim. Epstein's proximity to American science is not a theory, it is a record. Maria Farmer, one of the first women to publicly accuse Epstein, reported him to the FBI in 1996. Her report included the identities of girls she believed were at risk. No action followed. Alexander Acosta, the prosecutor who arranged Epstein's 2008 plea agreement, reportedly told Trump transition officials in 2017 that Epstein, quote, belongs to intelligence. The quote is attributed to Vicky Ward's reporting. Acosta has never publicly denied it. Ari Ben-Menashe, a former Israeli military intelligence official, has argued, on the record, in Michael Wolff and Dylan Howard's reporting, that Epstein was a Mossad asset. The claim is disputed. We cite both. What is not disputed is the philanthropy. Epstein gave money to the frontier edge of American science. He hosted salons with Minsky, Lloyd, Gell-Mann. He positioned himself at the unclassified perimeter of research domains that sit adjacent to classified ones. Why? The public record does not definitively answer that question. We do not know why a convicted sex offender funded theoretical physics. We do not know what was said in any of the rooms. What we do know is that the Department of Justice is currently withholding material that might contain part of the answer. So here is where Act 1 of this episode lands. MKULTRA. Kennedy, Roswell, Tuskegee, COVID, 5 decades, same loop, promise, slow walk, confirmation theater, reset. And in 2026, the loop is running on 2 files at once. Same administration, same office, same week, very, very soon. No client list. They are not releasing the files. They are performing release. They are the cover-up. We are the investigation. Every document, every country, every question, every release. When we come back, we look at the loop across every administration since the end of the Cold War. We bring you up to date on the 11. We ask, out loud, who benefits when nothing is released? And we tell you what a real disclosure would actually look like. This is Unresolved Signals. Stay with us.
This episode is sponsored by What's Near Me Now. Visit nearmenow.us to find events near you.
If the loop is 80 years old, the cadence is what is different now. Let's walk it. Clinton, 1997. The Department of Defense released a report titled The Roswell Report, Case Closed. It was the Air Force's follow-up to the 1994 Project Mogul disclosure. The 1997 report extended the explanation. The alien bodies that populated Roswell folklore were identified officially as anthropomorphic test dummies dropped from high-altitude balloons under a classified program called Operation High Dive. Move 3. Confirmation Theater. The report confirmed a frame, case closed, while retroactively explaining away 5 decades of testimony from people who described bodies, not dummies. Promise made. Frame delivered. File closed, administratively, without answering the remaining questions. George W. Bush, 2001 to 2009. The UAP file was essentially dormant as a public matter. The September 11 attacks and the wars that followed absorbed the disclosure oxygen. The Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, AAWSAP, which we now know existed inside the Pentagon during this period, operated below the level of public awareness. Move 2. Slow walk. By omission. The UAP record was moving inside classified channels with zero public transparency. Obama, 2009 to 2017. The Obama administration campaigned on transparency. Executive Order 13526, issued December 2009, was designed to accelerate declassification. The We the People petition platform included UFO queries. In 2015, Hillary Clinton, then running, told Jimmy Kimmel she would, quote, get to the bottom of it. Obama himself, asked about UFOs in 2020 after leaving office, said, "There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are." By the end of the Obama years, the public record had moved forward by exactly one admission, that the footage existed. No structured release, no church committee-style review, no systematic declassification. Move 1, in 2 forms, the campaign promise and the post office admission. Move 2, by inheritance. Trump, first term, 2017 to 2021. This is where the cadence begins to accelerate. December 2017, the New York Times breaks the A-tip story, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The 3 Navy encounter videos are made public. The Pentagon, for the first time, does not deny the videos. By 2020, the Navy officially acknowledges the footage. The UAP task force is established inside the Office of Naval Intelligence. In his final month in office, Trump signs the 2021 Defense Authorization Bill, which mandates the Pentagon produce a public UAP report within 180 days. The report, the ODNI Preliminary Assessment, is delivered in June 2021, 8 pages. It examines 144 incidents. It identifies 0 as extraterrestrial. It identifies 0 as foreign adversaries. It identifies 1, explicitly, as a large deflating balloon. The rest are classified unexplained. Move 1, Move 2, Move 3. Promise, slow walk, Confirmation theater, delivered in sequence across 4 years. Biden, 2021 to 2025. AARO is established in 2022, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The 2022 NDAA includes strong UAP reporting and protection provisions. Congressional UAP hearings in 2023, including David Grush's testimony alleging a multi-decade crash retrieval program. The Schumer Rounds UAP Disclosure Act, a piece of legislation that would have created an independent review board with actual enforcement power, is introduced. Its key provisions are stripped before the 2024 NDAA vote. By the end of the Biden administration, the AARO Historical Report Volume 1 has been delivered. It examines 60-plus years of alleged government UAP programs and concludes there is no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial recovery, reverse engineering, or a crash retrieval program. Move 3, again. Confirmation theater, delivered by a different agency under a different administration. Same shape. Trump, second term, 2025 to now. February 2025, Truth Social Directive to release. February 2026, second Truth Social Directive. Throughout 2025 and into 2026, a cadence of presidential statements about imminent release, at least twice a quarter. In January, the Kennedy files. In February, the UAP directive. In April, the Phoenix very, very soon. Congressional Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets is established. Representative Luna leads the UAP arm. AARO's caseload has exceeded 2,000 incidents. Pentagon deadlines are missed. A list of missing and dead scientists passes from 8 to 11. The director of the FBI goes on Fox News and frames the investigation. 1 presidential administrative action. 0 files delivered that were not already public. 6 administrations, 30 years. Every administration ran at least 1 move. Some ran all 4. What is different in 2026 is not that the loop exists. The loop is old. What is different is that it is running continuously. It is running twice in 72 hours, across 2 files, under an administration that no longer has the staff bandwidth to deliver on the promises it is making. While the loop has been running, the 11 have been changing. We left our last special episode with 8. 3 solved, 5 open. 2 weeks later, the public list stands at 11. The 10th case is Stephen Garcia of Kansas City. He disappeared in August 2025 under circumstances that News Nation has described as eerily similar to General McCaslin's. Left home, left devices, never seen again. His case was not widely reported until early April 2026. The 11th case is Amy Eskridge, who died by self-inflicted gunshot wound in Huntsville, Alabama on June 11, 2022. Eskridge worked in anti-gravity propulsion research. Leaked text messages from her surfaced in early April 2026. The text messages have driven a Reddit thread past 8,000 upvotes and generated a Newsweek feature calling her the 11th case. Her inclusion expands the pattern backwards in time to 2022. We also owe you a name we left out of our last special. Jason Thomas, Novartis biologist, degrees in physics, biology, biophysics. Disappeared from Wakefield, Massachusetts in December 2025. Body recovered from Lake Quannapowitt in March 2026. Our last special included Thomas as a solved case. We said his disappearance appeared related to grief following the deaths of both his parents in a single hour. The cause of death finding is still pending. We labeled him solved. If the pending finding revises that, we will revise with it. Of the 11, 5 have documented and specific connections to UAP-adjacent research. Maywald, Chavez, Reza, Casillas, McCasland. That set is the same set we walked in our last special 2 weeks ago. The new additions, Hicks and Eskridge and Garcia, strengthen the propulsion and aerospace cluster. Congressman Burleson has additionally named a 12th name, Matthew James Sullivan, a reported Air Force UAP whistleblower who, per Burleson, died before he could testify. Sullivan is not currently in the public 11. He is in Burleson's request letter to the FBI. We flagged the name for the record. If Sullivan enters the public list, we will cover him. That is the 11, updated. Now we want to do something this show does. We want to red team our own thesis. We have argued that disclosure has become a political weapon. We have argued that the loop is running on 2 files at once. We have argued that the confirmation theater on April 21st confirmed a frame, not a fact. Here are the 5 strongest counter-arguments a skeptic could make against this episode. We are going to name them, and we are going to steelman them, and we are going to tell you where we come down. Counter-argument 1. Maybe the administration has real national security reasons for slow-walking the UAP release, and those reasons are legitimate, and we are misreading a careful process as an evasive one. Steelman. Yes, that is possible. Intelligence processes take time. Interagency review is slow by design. The Air Force sits on records for decades because the underlying technical sources and methods remain active. That is a real thing. It has happened on many files. Where we land. Even granting a legitimate classification review, the Church Committee model exists. The 1994 Roswell GAO model exists. Redacted release exists. Executive summaries exist. 80 years of soon without a single Church Committee-style structured release is not explained by careful process. It is explained by no process. Counter-argument 2. Maybe the missing scientists really are a foreign operation. The foreign adversary's frame is right, and our skepticism about it is knee-jerk. Steelman. Possible. Scientists working on sensitive American research have been targets of foreign intelligence services for 80 years. The pattern has been documented. It is not crazy to hypothesize a modern iteration. Where we land. If the administration had that evidence, they would say so. They did not. Kash Patel had a full Sunday morning news hit on the largest Sunday show in cable news, with the director of the FBI chair to speak, and he named 0 countries. The Burleson Foreign Intelligence Service language is speculation, not evidence. Until evidence is offered, we hold the claim open, and we do not accept the frame as confirmation of itself. Counter-argument 3. Maybe the Epstein comparison is a stretch. You are pairing a documented legal file with a speculative intelligence one, and the audience will not carry the comparison. Steelman. Fair. Morally, Epstein's crimes and a bureaucratic slow walk of government files are not the same category of thing. We do not want to conflate the moral weight. Victims of Epstein's trafficking are not the same thing as frustrated UAP researchers. Where we land. We are not comparing the moral weight. We are comparing the administrative move. Same office, same 22 days, same release and revise machinery. The comparison is about how the machinery is running, not about what is inside the files. We believe the comparison holds, at the level it is made. Counter-argument 4. Maybe we are reading too much into one bad news cycle. Maybe next week the videos come out, the UAP file ships, and this whole episode is overcooked. Steelman. Correct. We made this exact argument in our last special, and we still believe it. The raw count on its own is not proof of anything. 250,000 UAP-adjacent scientists produce roughly 340 deaths in a 20-month period by base rate alone. 11 is not statistically significant on count. Where we land. The anomaly is not the count, it is the specifics. 2 Los Alamos employees, 7 weeks apart, identical circumstances, personal devices, factory reset. A materials scientist and the general who funded her research both vanished from familiar terrain within 8 months. A retired 2-star general whose name showed up in a 2016 WikiLeaks release about Roswell. Those are the features that do not reduce to base rate noise. Those are the features that the director of the FBI declined to name on Sunday morning. Counter-argument 6. Maybe the work is happening. It is just classified. Maybe we are accusing a disclosure office of inertia when the disclosure office is quietly doing its job behind the green door. Steelman. This one has teeth. Defense Scoop reported in March that Arrow held an invite-only workshop on UAP research. Invite only. No press release. No public output. If Arrow is running closed workshops, that is evidence that somebody is working on the file. It is also consistent with the idea that the public slow walk is a communications posture, not a substantive one. Where we land. An invite-only workshop is work. It is not disclosure. It is the opposite of disclosure. It is the classified process we described in our discussion of the JFK files, an office talking to itself. If that workshop produces a church committee-style public report, we will cover it with full credit. If it produces another invite-only workshop, we will cover that too. The question this episode asks is not whether the classified process is active. The question is whether the classified process is producing documents a citizen can read. As of this recording, the answer is no. That gives us room to ask the harder question: who benefits when nothing is released? We can count at least 5 beneficiaries. They are not the American public. 1. The office holding the files. Every administration that has held UAP custody has benefited from soon. It generates news cycles. It satisfies the base with a promise. It defers the political cost of an actual release into an indefinite future. 2. The programs inside the office. The Benowitz operation of the 1980s never reached a congressional hearing. The MJ-12 document seeding program never had a public accounting. The agencies that ran those operations, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations specifically, have benefited from every decade the release did not come. 3. The conspiracy entertainment industry. A growing body of podcasters, authors, film producers, and political influencers have built audiences on the premise that disclosure is coming. An actual release would end the franchise. The revenue model depends on perpetual soon. And yes, we know. We are part of that industry. This is a podcast about UAPs. If the files ship tomorrow, we cover the files. If the files never ship, we cover that too. If you have listened this far, you already know we try to do it honestly. Thank you for staying. We see you. 4. Political fundraisers. UAP-adjacent PACs and candidates have, on both sides of the aisle, raised real money on the promise of disclosure. Donor attention tracks promise, not delivery. 5. Foreign services, if they are actually involved in any of the scientists' cases. If they are involved, they benefit from a Kash Patel TV hit that does not name them. They benefit from a foreign adversary's frame that is too generic to identify them. Who does not benefit? The American public, the families of the 11, the historical record, the allies who share intelligence with the United States and want to understand what the United States actually knows. The scientists inside the institutions, still working, still researching, still security cleared, who watch this machinery run and have to decide whether any of their own reporting will be handled the same way. The beneficiaries have a name. They are the incumbents, the people who held the files yesterday and hold them today. The release that never comes protects them specifically. That is not an accusation of any one person. It is a structural observation. A release regime that never releases benefits the people who do not want to release. So what would a real disclosure actually look like? We are going to be specific, because release the files is not by itself a policy. 1. A church committee-style structured review. Not one administration, not one agency. A bipartisan Senate investigation with subpoena authority, a published record, and enforceable recommendations. The Schumer-Rounds UAP Disclosure Act was designed to do this. Its enforcement provisions were stripped in 2023. They could be restored. 2. A redacted release with an executive summary. The model exists. The 1994 Roswell GAO report, the 2004 9/11 Commission report, the 2014 Senate Intelligence Committee torture report. In each case, an administration that did not want to release produced a document anyway, under statutory pressure, with redactions to protect specific sources and methods. The technique works. 3. An independent UAP review board with actual budget, actual staff, and actual authority to examine classified records. Its output is a public report. Its members are vetted. Its findings are binding on the executive branch unless overridden by a specific statutory action. 4. Sworn congressional testimony under oath from named officials on the record. Not Kash Patel at a cable news chair, not a Hegseth press statement. A hearing with transcripts, with evidence submitted for the record, with perjury liability. 5. FOIA compliance on the UAP request backlog. Mandatory declassification review of records more than 25 years old per the existing executive order framework. Published backlogs. Enforceable deadlines. None of those are release everything. None of them are reckless. All of them have precedent. None of them is soon. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, published a commentary this week asking the same question we are asking. Will the White House release the UAP videos? Perhaps. Will it release the most intriguing ones? Loeb is not an activist and not a conspiracy theorist. He is a working scientist at one of the oldest universities in the country, looking at the same record we are looking at, and he has landed, independently, on the same question. The difference between a real disclosure and a performed one is the same as the difference between a cure and a placebo. A real disclosure produces a document a citizen can read. A performed disclosure produces a news cycle a citizen can remember. For 80 years, American UAP policy has produced news cycles. So here is where this episode ends. MKULTRA, Kennedy, Roswell, Tuskegee, COVID, 5 decades, same loop, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump, 6 administrations, same loop, UAPs, Epstein, same month, same office, same loop. Promise, slow walk, confirmation theater, reset. The files have not been released. Not the UAP files, not the Kennedy files, not the COVID origin files, not the full Epstein file, not any of them. They are not releasing the files. They are performing release. They are the cover-up. We are the investigation. This show will keep the record. If the files ship, we will cover them. If the frame shifts again, we will name the new frame. If a scientist is named, we will name the scientist. If a foreign actor is actually identified, we will identify the foreign actor. And if another 22 days pass, with another soon on one file and another quiet erasure on the other, we will cover that too. Because this is the oldest open question in human history. Every document, every country, every question, every release. This has been Unresolved Signals. Next time on Unresolved Signals, we return to the record. In 1966, after Project Blue Book was publicly humiliated by the Michigan swamp gas press conference, the Air Force handed the UFO problem to an independent scientific panel, the Condon Committee. The study ran for 2 years. It produced the most consequential UFO document ever released by the United States government. But 3 months before the committee formally convened, its coordinator wrote an internal memo. He described how to reach a negative conclusion while appearing objective. He called it the trick. He wrote the word down. Next time. Blue Book, the trick.
Unresolved Signals is a production of Talentless AI. Executive producer Steve Mudd. Sources and documents for this episode are linked in the show notes and on the source page at unresolvedsignals.com. This episode was produced in April 2026. Facts were current as of the date of publication. We will update the record if and when new primary source documents require it. If you want to follow the investigation, subscribe wherever you listen. Share with one person who would want to know.
This episode was written and produced with AI. The narrator is a synthetic voice trained on a human original used under license. Research was conducted using large language models and traditional search tools, with every primary source independently verified against its original publication before inclusion. The editorial direction, the factual framing, and the final cut are the responsibility of a human producer. We tell you this because the subject of this episode is disclosure, and we owe you ours.
Every document, every country, every question, every release,